Are my judges ready?
Yes.
The great politician Niccolo Machiavelli once stated, "Whoever wishes to foresee the future must first consult the past." History is one of the most important subjects that can be taught in school today. Without knowing your history, how would you know anything? Hello, my name is Gavin Graves, and today I'm going to tell you about how history is important to us all. It's working now. I chose my topic because I've always loved history. Ever since I was a child, I learned about things such as the Titanic and the American Revolution. Also, I have lived in Willow Springs my entire life, and I was interested to learn more about how our town got its start and how we began. I was not able to write my entire research paper over the history of Willow Springs because that is not allowed for a senior project. So I wrote my research paper on the importance of history and how it should not be erased from books. One of these facts is the history of the Confederacy. Many people know about the Confederacy and the Civil War from 1861 to 1865 that left a great divide in the United States that can still be felt today. In recent times, many Confederate statues have been torn down, such as in May 2017, the city of New Orleans destroyed every single statue that was related to the Confederacy by way of people or significance of any kind. Many people were outraged because they still think, even though these statues are a memorial of the Confederate armies, they are still part of American history and that you cannot erase history. Yet other people argue that these statues resemble racist people who hated blacks and wanted nothing of their race but free labor. In other cases resembling the Confederacy, businesses such as the Dixie Stampede, a popular tourist destination in Branson, Missouri, recently changed its name from the Dixie Stampede to just the Stampede because they felt the word Dixie was too offensive and related too much to the Confederate Army. I also researched facts that they have erased from history that many people do not know about. Such one of these facts is the Tulsa race riots, which occurred in 1921. A little background history on the race riots is, there was a black elevator operator in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He lived in the Greenwood district. At that time, in 1921, it was one of the wealthiest black neighborhoods in the United States. Many people refer to it as Black Wall Street. A white woman accused this black elevator operator of assaulting her, and so he was incarcerated at the courthouse in Tulsa. Many of his friends knew him as a well man and that he would never do such a thing. So they went to go at his aid and help plead not guilty for him. When they arrived at the courthouse in Tulsa, many mobs of white supremacists were waiting there for him, and a fight ensued. 12 people were killed, most of them white, and that angered the white mob, and so they marched on the Greenwood, setting the town ablaze and shooting men, women, and children in their homes and on the streets. All in all, over 300 men, women, and children, all colored, died that day. There were over 6,000 more injuries. 9,000 homes were burned and destroyed, and over 8,000 more people were incarcerated, not a single one of them white. This remains the largest massacre of African American lives in the history of the United States. And this was after the Civil War. This was when they were free and had the right to vote, and they were massacred. And most people in the population today do not know this ever happened. Now, I did do my product over the history of Willow Springs. Willow Springs was founded in the 1860s. Its original name was Hickory Top. The town was named Hickory Top until the Civil War. Since we were a border state, there were many raiding parties between the Confederacy and the Union armies that came through Howe County. The Confederate raiding parties burned down Hickory Top, West Plains, and every other town in Howe County. Howe County's population in 1860 was estimated to be 11,000. By the end of the war, the population was estimated to be less than 250. In 1865, settlers started moving back into Howe County after the war. One of these settlers was James Harris. James Harris was the first postmaster in the city of Willow Springs, but at first he wanted to keep the name of Hickory Top. When he filled out papers to have a post office built in Willow, they told him he cannot use the name Hickory Top because the town name was already taken. They suggested he use the name Willow Springs. The Willow Spring was originally a watering hole on the Rolla Road between Rolla and Memphis, and it was very popular. They suggested this name because of its vicinity towards Willow, which is actually 8 miles east of where the town currently sits, on the turnoff to RA Highway, or as many of you know, turnoff to Sims Valley. In the 1880s, the railroad came, and Willow boomed. Its population went in 1880 to just 250, and after the Kansas City, Fort Scott, and Memphis Railroad came, it boomed to over 1,800. Willow was an important railway hub because it's a midway stopping point between Kansas City and Memphis, and that was very important back in the day because train crews needed to eat and sleep, and unlike they do now. The railroad nowadays, they will switch crews every time they hit a town. Back then, they would drive the same crew would operate all the way from Kansas City to Memphis. Front Street on Willow Springs was originally Main Street, which is the street that runs parallel with the railroad. That was originally our main street. There were as many as 5 hotels operating it at one time and many businesses. In the early 1900s, that street developed a seedy reputation because of the railroad, bringing in criminals, prostitutes, and whatnot onto the street. Business owners did not like that reputation, and so they moved their businesses onto 2nd Street, which is now Main Street. With the invention of the automobile, US Highway 60 and 63 both ran through Willow. These highways boomed, and Main Street became a large economic development with many restaurants and stores. At one time, there were as many as 5 24-hour restaurants catering to highway travelers just on Main Street itself. Today, Willow Springs is a very sleepy town. In the 1960s, our population plateaued, and when the bypass came around Willow with the invention of the 4-way highway, we lost almost all through traffic. Our businesses lost almost all money and ceased to exist. Many people that live in Willow today are retired or getting up in age. Many people that come through this school district, such as I, move or will be leaving because there is nowhere to work in Willow. Willow is the poorest and the oldest demographic in all of Howe County because there is nowhere to work. For my product, I did a 16-minute documentary over the history of Willow Springs. I used the WeVideo video editing software, and I designed my video with help from my mentor, Julie Owens. I interviewed people such as Lou Weimer, a historian in town, and my great-great-aunt, Margie Moss, who was a business owner on the highway while the highway still ran through Willow. My product was very complicated to do. I picked my product because I thought it would be easy, and boy was I wrong. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had no idea how to use video editing software, and right now, if I could look back, I probably would have not done this project because of all the stress it gave me. I was glad I did it, but I actually ran over my due date on my senior project by a week because the software would not cooperate. Willow Springs is a town I was born and raised in. It is a town I love. It might not be the biggest town or the prettiest in the world, but it is one I would like to stay in for the rest of my life. Do my judges have any questions?
Have you been to the Historical Society?
Yes, I have.
Oh, good. Mr. Weimer took you?
Yes, I walked through that with him, and all of the pictures on my slideshow and on my trifold I received from Mr. Weimer.
Are there many books available about the history of Willow Springs?
That was one of my problems. I couldn't find almost anything. There's one book about Willow that it was wrote in the late 60s on a 100th year anniversary by Ella Horak. And I used it, but Lou Weimer told me that it was kind of the world according to her and might not all be factual. Any other questions?
If you plan on staying here, what do you plan on doing for a living?
I don't know. If I plan on staying here, I might live in town, and I might have to do what my dad does and work out of town. and because there's really nowhere to work here anymore as for a steady career job. All right, thank you.